No, I'm good.
They start to get further away from you.
Good morning, all. Welcome to the Warren County Tourism and Arc Tax Committee for April 23rd. I need a motion to approve the minutes of March 26th and 24th. Mr. Strainer, Ms. Runyon, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passed. Open to privilege of the floor.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have a couple of things I'd like to talk about today. Is there any chance that I might show some slides on the screen that'll help me go much faster? And Amanda has them.
Does the committee have any objections?
I don't.
No. Welcome to it, sir.
So Amanda, if you mind, don't mind. And just as this is happening, I've spent way too many hours looking at OCTAX money over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. And it really started because of something that's not on the agenda today, which is the Joseph Warren Center and how we're going to come up and pay for this money. So I've done this in the past. I'm going to do it again. Here's some of the numbers that I put together in a spreadsheet that isn't in a spreadsheet. It's all
You don't
done on
have that-
paper.
You don't have that printed out yet.
I'm sorry?
Do you have any of that printed out that we can,
No, I'm going to be real fast. I'm going
No,
to be
it's
real
not that.
fast about this.
hard to read that?
but-
Go ahead.
Basically, it's, I have data back from 2006 to 2023, OCTAX revenue, percentage changes, year over year change, all the towns in terms of what their allocations were. You look at this, can't really figure it out. One of the things that jumps, and of course, we probably all know about this, our prior treasurer has done some great things in terms of getting us additional short-term rental money to the tune of probably about $1.5 million. That gets distributed also to the towns. The towns get 25% of the occupancy tax. We go to the next one, Amanda, if you don't mind. I can't tell you anything about this data, but what I can do is show you something because it's much easier to see what's going on. The chart on the left is ox tax revenue from 2006 on. The chart on the right is what I call the top four. There's Fulton Landing, there's Lake George Village, Lake George Town, and the town of Queensbury. And God bless his soul, but if Supervisor Dickinson were here today, he'd be getting ready to have a field day with me, and I miss him terribly because he was always good at giving me a hard time. But what this shows is there's a big jump in what we received with OCTAX. What do we do with it? On the chart on the right, the top four have this perspective, big jump. And I'll get to it a little bit later, but basically what drew me to it was how much is enough? Because we're always challenged with what we do with OCTAX money and how the county can afford to do infrastructure kind of things. The next one, Amanda, if you don't mind. As I was going through data, I got some more data, and this is, and I know you guys can't really see it, but it's the spending plan balances going forward. So what this is, it looks at all the towns and what their end of balance was at the end of the year in 22, end of 23, and what's the difference? And if you look at that, it starts jumping up significantly, but my math tells me that across all the towns, there's over $470,000 worth of carry forward or unspent funds. That's a lot of money. That can help us do some things that we need to do in the future. So how do we address this? So I dug even further. Amanda, the next one, if you don't mind. And it's just basically a different look at it. It's by town, by the top four. But I looked at the county distribution, the expenditures, the fund balances at the beginning of the year, 1/1. The fund balances a day prior, 12/31. And see the increase in what was left over from the towns going forward. So I just keep on looking at data and I'm trying to figure out what are we doing with OCTAX? One more, actually two more, Amanda, and I'll go really fast. So I took another look at this in terms of unspent dollars. Just a bar graph. It's a lot easier to see stuff visually in terms of trying to read numbers. But that's the increase in the funds that are left over every year.
Part of why you have those funds left over is because during COVID, no events occurred.
I understand.
So like in our town, we had no events for 2 years, so that 80,000 represents money not spent during COVID.
Okay, I understand. It's just trying to figure out these numbers, right? Because we need more, we need to come and find a way to support a few things that are before us. One is moment factor, whether we decide to do that. The second is Joseph Warren. Where are the funds coming from? So I just look at this and say, there's got to be another way to look at it. And the last one is just basically the one I gave before. There's been a huge jump in occupancy tax funds that have been recorded and acquired by the county. And there's a huge jump that go to the towns. And my question is, if we're looking forward to what we're trying to do, how much is enough? And I can go on, I can start talking about, are we following the local law? And are we using precedents from some things we did before to kind of work around the local law in terms of what we're doing with these funds? The only reason I ask for this is because it's so important for us, because tourism is over a third of our economy in this county. And it employs more than the third of the people in the county. So it's important to us to do what we can to advance this. And like I said, I can go on, but if you look at our tourism industry in the summertime is booked. We're pretty well booked up. What more can we do to expand our tourism revenue? I don't think it's the summer. I think we need to pull back some of this money and have, just for consideration, a fund that we use for major projects or a lottery, and each town gives us a shot. What do you think they could do with it? And how can we expand the tourism? So I'm just bringing this up. We're always spending tourism money. I think we need to do a better look at where this money is going, how it's being utilized, and how can we best utilize it going forward. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
I appreciate that. I mean, if you've been sitting here, you know, we've been trying to control this OCTAC stuff, and we are working on the same numbers, but I'd like to see a copy of your,
I can ask Amanda.
Yeah.
She could then send it to the
All
committee.
appreciate that. Yes, Mr.
That was my question. Could we all get a copy?
Yeah, no, we should have a copy of that, and, well, you can check with our committee here. We've been, trying to struggle. In fact, we're gonna do a little bit today. And I got criticized in the paper about 3 weeks ago for using the word piggy bank. You know, and, I think it's about time we, you know, close the cap on that piggy bank, because it is getting carried away, but we all are in a tough position because a lot of the projects that people want are really good ones. But then nobody's following the rules of the OCTACs. Some of the people, they started at $5,000 a year for an event, and now they're up to 50,000. And those are the things that we're looking at to slow down and control, especially the ones that are for profit. You give a company, a for-profit company, 50,000 at the start, that's pretty nice. I wish I could do that in my business. But, you know, so we're working on that, also, and we've been working on it hard. And, we're hopefully we'll really get it under control, but it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy to sit here. It's not easy to sit there, you know, and especially
The numbers.
especially when it comes to towns, because each of the supervisors want to take care of their own towns and help them out. And, you know, you always got to be careful and you can't say no here or yes there. It's a struggle, but I promise you by the end of this year, we're going to have it a little bit more under control than it is now. And that's, you could take that to the bank. Don't put it in a piggy bank, but you could take it. All right, so we'll start our, we got, anybody else from the audience have a comment or something that they'd like to bring up now? Okay, so we'll start, your turn.
We have 2 applications for the municipality. First one on the docket is South Kingsbury Volunteer Fire Department. Bueller.
All right,
So they're
You want me-
here.
okay, you want me to make the comments first? You can fill in, okay, we got 2 here. One's the South Warren Snowmobile Fire Department. I'm suggesting we table this. We looked at some if you look at their worksheet, they're looking at T-shirts, 150 T-shirts. They're looking at food for their volunteers. We went back and looked at last year and they bought T-shirts last year. So they didn't put them in the closet and save them for this year. We're buying more. So there's a lot of little things that we're going to question about this. So I'd like to table it, if
Well,
that's all right with this
What do
committee.
they want the t-shirts for?
For their volunteers at the Balloon Festival.
Oh,
You got it. We sent it to you.
yeah.
All right. So there's a lot of things. This is what they were just saying here. We're going to start looking at this stuff a little closer. And the second one is Glenn. I'm sorry,
I'm sorry, we do have, someone here for that. If you.
which one? Fire department? Oh,
No,
okay.
from the website.
Oh, the Glens Falls mural. You're next.
Thank you.
But wait, is it all right? Is a vote? We just table the other fire department one for
Sure.
now?
Need a motion?
Motion to table?
All right, a motion. Mr. Strainer, Mr. Trusty. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Passed. All right, now, I'm sorry, sir.
Same there.
Eric.
Hi, my name's Eric Unkoff. I'm the owner of the shirt factory in Glens Falls. I'm also a board member of a new non-for-profit called Mural Garden. So Mural Garden aims to be a vibrant arts destination integrating murals, history panels, and sculpture into a free public arts park in the shirt factory neighborhood of Glens Falls. Building on 11 large-scale murals completed in 21, 22, and 23, we seek to add an additional 7 murals this year. The site plan was developed by Fred Holman, lays out a vision of a world-class year-round arts destination that shares space with existing arts and commercial uses in the area. Eventually, over 100 murals will be placed on buildings, containers, fences, and special structures. Mural Garden is seeking funding for a significant large-scale mural on the south-facing wall of the shirt factory. And that is more detailed in the application that was submitted. And I can certainly answer any questions anyone may have.
All right, well, murals. I mean, do you think that really brings in tourists into the area to stay overnight to look at a mural? Important question. No, I'm not.
So I would say it enhances a visitor's experience. I would say at the stage that we're at right now, probably not. I would say at the stage that we're headed to, eventually, yes. So by the end of next year, we would expect to have about 25 murals up. So we would have about a quarter of the project of the 100 murals that we seek to put up completed at that time. You know, at some point, there's going to be a tipping point where people, like right now, people will come to see something else and they'll say, oh, I'm also going to go check this out. At some point, there'll be a tipping point where it's like, I'm going to go check Mural Garden out and see what else there is to do. And I can't tell you where that line is. What we're seeking to do is in probably next year or the year after, we have to get to a certain point before we can put in grant applications with, say, National Endowment for the Arts, Our Town grant, which this fits perfect with, or programs with Empire State Development. But we've got to have a track record and we've got to be able to show, you know, our progress, you know, multiple years of financials to be taken seriously on these larger grants. So we need to get from where we are now to down the road another year or two before we can apply for these larger grants that are going to help, you know, not complete the project, but certainly move it ahead in a significant way.
Okay, that was one of my first questions I was
Sure.
going to ask you. Have you gotten grants or anything? Okay. Second question is, do you get money from anybody else? I mean,
Oh, absolutely. So last year we got grants from private businesses. We got grants from the Tuba Family Foundation. We got grant through, you know, a re-grant through LIRAC through NISCA. And we also have a grant this year, re-grant through LARAC, through NISCA and Tuba Family Foundation again. And we're actively soliciting other businesses for grants. We've got one foundation that's going to do a matching amount on our Muralthon project up to $6,000, which we started that event last year, which was we brought in 6 muralists to create murals over a specific time frame during the summer. And we're doing that again this year. We've got one muralist that's coming from out of state, one that's coming from Western New York, and the others are from the Albany region that are going to be here the end of July, the beginning of August, putting up 6 additional murals during that time.
Mr. Strainer?
Doesn't the city of Glens Falls have bed tax money?
Yep.
And
All the
as
towns
of
do.
looking at Supervisor Wild's last chart, everybody's bed tax money increased for going to the towns and municipalities. So my question is, have you contacted?
So we applied for money last year, and we received 0. And they asked us to apply, or I shouldn't say they asked us to apply. Chick McTiernan, who's the assistant to the mayor, said you should apply again this year. So we did apply again this year. There's no guarantee that we're going to wind up with any money as a result of that application. And the money that we applied for in that application was not for this mural that we're talking about today. It was actually to help with funding for the Muralthon project, the event. So.
All right. Anybody else?
Well, I like the murals. I think they look very nice, and the people that have been doing them are fantastic artists. But, you know, as Supervisor Wild said, these people all got extra money, and I know with Glens Falls, the next 3 years, they aren't going to have the basketball, so they haven't, must have some extra money there. I would prefer that we start at Glens Falls and see what they want to do. Maybe we could match half of it or something, but, like, it was a great point that he made, though. All these towns, they all got extra money for years. So, let's let them start spending it on some of the projects in their home base.
Trial?
Yeah, Eric, so this is for a mural on 19 Cooper Street, 20-foot by 40-foot on the south facade of 19 Cooper.
Correct.
So this mural would cost around 22,600.
Correct.
All right, I just did, and I don't know how much murals cost.
Well, it's about, it varies by the artist. So what we do is we try and set a budget and, either somebody, there's obviously muralists that this amount of money would be like a pittance to them. And they would just be like, no, there's no way I'm going to do that. I would need to get $40,000 or $50,000 to do a mural that size. So, we set a budget, we set the parameters of what we're looking for, and then we just kind of solicit, artists to complete the, submit ideas for the project and then pick from that. So I'm not part of the committee that has picked the individual artists that they want for this. I believe they have somebody in mind if the funding is available. But that's kind of how the process works. So, one person might say, oh, I can do that for $8,000, but, you might get an $8,000, something that looks like it cost $8,000, because it's a fairly substantial piece here. This is kind of what we're calling our bookend project. So at one end of this shirt factory, there's a smokestack. That's going to be one end. We're going to hopefully put a mural on that next year. The project we're talking about right now is at the opposite end of the building. And then once those two very significant, very visible murals are done, we're going to fill in between over the next coming years. So this is a very, this is going to be a very visible, very significant piece. Anyone coming to the shirt factory or the adjacent buildings is this mural is going to pop right out.
And I agree that does enhance the visitor's experience. Um, and they do look nice.
Yeah. I mean, I can't put an actual number on how many people are coming to see the murals right now, but I can tell you every time, well, not every time, but there's many times that I'll go out to the property and I'll see people that have stopped, with their camera or their phone, and specifically that's what they're doing. They came and they're checking those murals out and they're taking pictures and they're enjoying what they see. So
Anybody else?
I see last year there was no award. Have there been any previous awards for any of the?
Not for this particular, that I know of.
So we've never funded it before, but what I like about it, it's unique. It's unique to the county, certainly to Glens Falls, but to the county. And I don't represent Glens Falls, but I'm there enough to see plenty of people stopping and looking, photographing these items. I think it adds a touch of class, really. And I mean, it's top-notch craftsmanship. So I do support this. Oh, sorry.
I can't speak to the area around the shirt factory building, but I can talk to you about the fans that go to Thunder hockey games. And as far as enhancing the experience, I've been told by individuals that they weren't going to stay for dinner or drinks. And many of them do stay overnight because in past years, without the the artwork, they just wanted to get out of town, but it has increased, at least the people that go to the pool and cheering arena, the number of people that want to hang around for the weekend, just to kind of experience what downtown Glens Falls and other parts of the county have to offer. So thank you.
Anyone else? All right, this is, we kind of looked at it earlier on our little board that rates these to bring here to our board. We had decided to table it until we got more information, but just another number. If a hotel takes in $10,000 in business, it brings in about $400 in tax money. And that's the way I look at it. And this is what the tax was, is to bring in people, stay in hotels, motels, bed and breakfasts, bring in this, and that's how we promote this. And basically, if you can't show a figure on how many people you think, okay, maybe down another couple of years, like you said, but if this goes on and on, it gets to be expensive for us. And right now, we're trying to cut back a little.
Mhm.
So I would like to make a suggestion to the group here, our group, is that we table it for now. And so we can spend some more time talking about it. So, yes.
If we're gonna table it, I think we should also find out what Glens Falls is willing to contribute.
Well, that was my last statement. And we got to know who you getting money, else you're getting money from. All right, just to try to keep it fair, and just like we got people looking at what we're spending, we're taking a lot of money in tax, there's no doubt about it.
Mhm.
But over the years, what we're learning now, and I'm learning too, is that when you put out a project like Glens Falls, we've spent Civic Center, blah, 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 on and off. We got this college. We promised them $500,000 over 5 years, 100,000 a year. We got to stop giving that out until we look at what it's affecting the whole apple.
Mhm.
And, it's not just this year. And if we have to keep funding it year after year for 5 years, that becomes $500,000. So that's what we're going to try to be under control. So, and I was looking at hopefully tabling some of these things, and we've had 3 meetings already. asking not to go over what you got last year, and most of them did, and we asked for 10% reduction on a lot of them, and most of them did. Only one kind of complained about it. But we're trying to get this under control, and until we get Mr. Weil and the rest of us looking at this to see where we're going. We've been trying to work on this for the last couple of months, and it's not easy to find out how much money. We have a nice treasurer now. We're working with her and finding out a lot of things about OCTAX. So we just can't come every month and keep giving money away. We have to slow down a little bit and get it under control. This is the year that's gonna happen. All right, so I don't know if anybody else. Yes, Mr. Weil.
Just point of information, Glens Falls last year, their allocation was $38,000
38,000.
as compared to hundreds of thousands.
So, all right, so you understand what I'm saying. I'll let the board, yes.
Remember I had from last year?
Community got 25,000.
They have 30, but it doesn't include the spending.
And every community got supplemental. So I think you need to go back to the well, that makes 40,000 right there. And then they would have got 2% based, or they would have got 25% based on the room nights, correct?
Yep.
Numbers are right on your report.
Well-
And just one other comment.
Huh?
If I could.
Yes, sir.
This gentleman presented a good plan. He also is trying to get something painted when the weather is right. So if you delay it too long, well, you have to delay the project totally. And he did list where he's getting his, half of his money from. It's not his report. That's all I'm saying. For murals, against murals, but I'm just saying, you did a good job presenting it. You also gotta consider weather as part of it.
Well, that's what I said way at the beginning. It's not easy to pick and choose sometimes. If you're gonna make changes, you gotta make changes. If you want to continue what you're doing and we run out of money, I'm not gonna say we didn't tell you.
My point was just, I wanted to see how much Glens Falls is willing to contribute. If they were gonna contribute half, I'd be more than happy to vote for half. I think it's a great project. But, you know, it's like Supervisor Wild said, these people are all getting money, and we don't even know what they're doing with it.
It's not true.
Well, to a point.
That's not a true statement. Everybody files a report. Anytime you want to see your report, ask the attorney's office, or I don't know if you have it in your office.
Tourism has it.
Tourism.
We get
Yeah,
them.
we have.
Treasurer.
We get-
Tourism keeps all the reports by everybody. So we straightened that out a couple of years ago.
Mr. Stroud.
Yeah, I'm not sure tabling this. I mean, do you like the idea, and do you think that it's good money for OCTAX to see a huge 20-foot by 40-foot mural and enhancing the city of Glens Falls? And according to Eric's balance sheet, he still has to seek other funding to make this happen. So it's a $22,600 project where he requested 10,000 from OCTAX. And then he's got to find the rest from other places, hopefully the city. So I'm comfortable with voting on this now. I just don't see what tabling is going to do. I mean, I have to agree with Chairman Garrity. Gary said this is exactly what I want to do. And think it's a good idea or not?
All right, Mr. Bean?
Eric, just out of curiosity, do you have you put in your application with Glens Falls at this point?
Yes.
You have. And at what point do you think you'll be hearing from them?
I don't know. The applications were due by May 1st. So I think last year it took about, I don't know, Amy, you might know better than I do how long it'll take.
Yes, I think that if the county, extended some funds for this project, I think it would be favorably received by the city. Eric's operation at the Troy Shirt Factory is, growing, and, I would question 100 murals? You want to put 100 murals?
Well, I didn't want to get into all the details here, but you know, we're going to have specially constructed fences that are going to house murals and special structures that are going to house murals. So it's not like every inch of every building is going to be covered with murals. It's going to be done in such a way that it's more like an outdoor art museum than you know, just like every inch of a building, like, you know, top to bottom, side to side, covered with paint.
Eric,
No, it's not limited to buildings, no.
Eric, how much are you requesting from the city of Glens Falls? No?
So we requested $7,000 for the Muralthon event. Now, we could certainly, if they're willing to, you know, grant some of that money with the idea that it's earmarked towards this mural, I don't have an issue with that, as in that we'll raise the money, you know, the difference that we need for the Muralthon event, you know, from public and private sources. You know, right now, this next couple of weeks, we've got this thing going on with a couple of local restaurants, 4 local restaurants in the area, where we're encouraging people to go dine there on specific nights, and then they're sharing a percentage of their, you know, whatever they take in as a donation to, you know, the Muralthon event. So we're, you know, we do have other things that are in the works. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
go ahead, John.
I just wanted to bring up one thing. You know, this is, I mean, I'm a carpenter, so I'm always thinking tangible, you know, this is a tangible improvement that, I don't know, how long will the murals last? Would you say?
They can last quite a while. This is a, you know, when we were doing the first mural, there's murals in Europe that were done over 100 years ago that are still up, and, you know, and obviously they're difficult, completely different kind of art at the time. But, you know, if you use the right materials and you maintain it, there's no reason it can't last a long time.
I'm just thinking if it's a tangible improvement and, you know, I noticed we give out money for events, and I know that the events bring in money, and I don't know what the dollar amount the events bring into the businesses. And then when you take that number, I'm sure somebody could figure out the math and figure out what it brings back to the county. You know, where's the money better spent? But when I see something tangible that will be there for a long, long time for the area, you know, I lean in favor of it. And you know, I saw a lot of the emails about the Joseph Warren Center, and yeah, when I read the emails, it's a bit of a reach, but in the same sense, it is something tangible that will improve the county for a long, long time. And I don't know, I like the idea of something improving the county for a multitude of years rather than just an event that is a short-term thing. And I mean, yeah, we have to support the businesses. I'm not saying to stop that, but I think I like the gentleman's idea to do something for him anyway.
All right, I guess that, I'll need a motion from the committee. Anybody want to make a suggestion what we do?
Make the motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
got a second. So Mr. Stroud, okay, Mr. Rossi, second. All right, call the motion. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's passed.
Thank you.
Heather's gonna take number
Yep.
2.
So B on here is a resolution request to authorize an agreement in the amount of 248,798 with Synergy Studios LLC, which is DBA Fourth Idea for creative services for graphic design and video photo production. Couple things I want to point out. Last year, our video production contract was a little over $100,000. Unfortunately, we only have use of those assets for 5 years. So that does not do us well if we're continuing to go after and get new assets. So I have added a piece in the contract or in the RFP to request that we have unlimited rights to these and also give our businesses where we shoot unlimited rights. Our businesses that we partner with, our tourism businesses, give up things for these business, for our video photography and photo photographers, the ability to come on site, and they sometimes comp rooms, they give meals, they give the ability to ride their different attractions. So part of this contract, although it is higher than we have from a video production, I haven't gotten to the other side, it is higher than in past, but it's higher because I've asked for unlimited usage. This gives us the ability to use these across the board. I'll give you an example. When we did our travel guide, we had real concerns with coming up with images of today because a lot of our contracts and our images were out of use and no longer available to us. So that is one side of the coin for the additional, price of this. The other piece is creative services. We no longer have an in-house designer. We needed to outsource this. So that is another piece of this contract that this agency will be doing. We did one RFP for creative services, because in my eyes, from a creative design, you need to have the same thought process, the same theme approach across digital, video, and creative production output. So having it under one umbrella allows for synergy, allows for the ability for shared mindsets of the same type of concepts being pushed through. I have the budget for this. When preparing the budget last year, I knew of these particular parameters, and I knew that this number would be large. I thought it'd be a little bit lower. However, they fulfilled the application or the RFP appropriately with the provided cost analysis, which we did go into very details of that. And I'm very satisfied that they will do a really good job on this. It was a hard decision. We had a lot of creative, what's the word I'm looking for? Thank you. The creative ideas that were put forth. These agencies, there were 10 of them. Over half of them really brought forth their A game and tried to push and position the Lake George area as a four-season destination, addressing a lot of our concerns, which is increasing visitation all year round to all of Warren County. So I publicly say thank you to each and every one of them for their submissions, and our staff really took it to heart and really reviewed each and every one of the applications. So I would like to put forth that service agreement with Synergy Studios.
I
Sure,
got a
I'll bring it to
motion.
the floor. I can't do the second either.
Mr. Schrainer and Ms. Runyon.
Yeah.
Second. Any other questions?
I do.
I have
Go
a-
ahead.
I have a
Hold on a minute.
Historical question here. Heather, just confirm what you're saying. It is previously, if the county paid for photos, videos, we did not own those?
We only own them for 5 years. So a lot of the commercials we did, we only owned for 5 years. Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's,
I've never done any contracts like that ever. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. Any asset that I was part of in the past, I've owned. And they still continue to use them today. So the prices do increase a little, but it's worth the spend. Because now I have somebody in 10 years. So someone in 10 years can still continue to utilize those assets.
Okay.
And so can our businesses. And I think that's important too, because it not only gives to us as a county, but our businesses put up collateral, put up maybe staff to help them, maybe gave up a room in their facilities. So I think it's important to also share that.
and if one of our municipalities wanted to have the ability to use some of this photos, videos, who knows for what? At that point, we would be able to?
I'd have to verify on that. If we were to shoot in your community, so for example, let's say we did a park. You would be able to use those assets. And I say that because the way that I wrote the RFP was those that are giving up something would get something in return. So for example, if you have a business in your community, you may or may not be able to utilize that. I would need to verify that particular piece of it.
But the county would own all this.
The county would own it,
So,
correct?
so it's up to the county at that point to decide, not the provider.
Well, the county owns it for the use of promoting the county. So I don't want to say that publicly without really looking into that particular piece of it. I don't foresee that being a question that I can ask after this, and I don't foresee, based on this particular agency that we're choosing, that it would be an issue. However, I need to also make sure from a purchasing perspective that I'm not, what I asked for is not being put into the contract beyond what was asked for. So I want to clarify that on a couple of levels. But I will tell you this, if I can fight for it and I can do it, I will definitely add it.
Well, that was kind of my question too, but are you saying that any business that you shoot any kind of pictures at or videos, that they're the only ones that can utilize it, or
The way
anyone
I
in the-
wrote it was it becomes the ownership, and I've got to look at it this, and please keep me honest. I believe that I wrote it that it was owned by Warren County. And therefore, the reason I wrote that is I ran into this in previous years where I couldn't share it with other departments. And therefore, why? Warren County is buying it. Warren County should be able to utilize it in multiple departments. The other piece is I've asked for those businesses where it is allowed to, where they have permission to shoot assets on their location to have those ability to have that access to them. I've got to verify how it was written in the RFP, if I was specific in detail or not. And that's why it's more of it becomes making sure that we're doing it right and fair from an RFP process, but then also from a contract process. Does that make sense?
No.
I'm
No.
sorry. I need to
It
verify the
kinda
way it
does.
was written in the RFP to be able to really give you a true answer, and I'll definitely get back to you.
Yeah.
And
Well, I was
it's a
just-
matter of just verifying and making sure that, was I narrow-minded in being specific, or did I provide the ability to include more? And that's really what it is, and it's also more, I would like to review it with Julie as well, because I think it's important for her input of interpretation, and maybe even bring it back to the attorney for his interpretation as well, and also include the awardee. But I also want to make sure that it's fair and we're not doing something that is against the RFP process. But if it's possible, I promise you, I will make sure it happens.
Well, I'd like to ask our administrator and our county attorney. They fully understand where we're going with this, so we don't trip over ourselves
Yeah.
again, like previously. So are we leaving us enough open areas so that we can do some of the things that we're talking about? Or are we locked down? I don't know.
I understand, I believe I understand what the intent is. I haven't seen the RFP or reviewed it. And I typically don't, but this would be one I'd like to look at and sit with our purchasing officer and director of tourism so that we're all on the same page as to what it actually means before it gets issued. But I understand, I believe the intent. I mean, it's fairly simple. We want to own what we're paying for. And we want the ability, I believe, to license it potentially to those businesses that
And the
give
contract.
something to the county by allowing us to use their facilities for shooting. So it's not a gift issue, it's an actual exchange issue with it.
From a purchasing perspective, I don't know if this impacts the question or not, but I know that I did ask for unlimited usage. I didn't use the word licensing. If we were, since we're awarding this, if we were to, and again, if I'm getting into the weeds, say we can't go further.
You're in the
But
weeds
if-
on this right now, so we'll talk about
Okay,
this.
very good.
All right? Everybody understanding? All right, so we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Thank you. Right, the last, excuse me, resolution, we've been talking about this for a couple of months. It's to amend the law number 5 of 2018. The monies that go to the treasurer. Back then it was, the 3% was 10%. Now it's down to 6. So we've hassled it out, and I think we understand it all. So 6% goes to the treasurer to help fund her department now, excuse me, and keep things going, so.
But just a point, I'm not sure I understood what was just stated. Currently, Warren County by statute can retain for the purposes of paying for expenses related to the collection of the tax up to 10%, but the current local law is 3%. So the request is to increase 3% to 6%. I just
Right.
want to make sure we're all.
Right, we're moving,
On the same
we're
page.
moving up a little. Would you like to speak on that?
That's correct, Larry. Thanks for the clarification. Yeah, I actually, it was in the November Board of Supervisors meeting where this came to a vote and it was tabled, the 3 to the 6%. I have spoken to Heather, and it's not just the treasurer's department, actually. From an administrative perspective, there's a lot of our departments that spend time and a lot of time on occupancy tax. There's the treasurer's department, forgive me, I have notes. So there's the treasurer's office, there's procurement, there's the auditor, there's the county attorney, in fact, clerk of the board with regard to resolutions, et cetera. So there's a lot of administration that goes into the OCTAX that's outside of the OCTAX department itself, which is fully funded by OCTAX. So going from 3 to 6%, again, it was at 10% at some point in time. And by statute, that is what's allowed. If you look at it this way, you know, right now, the treasurer's department gets the 3%. I'm not saying the treasurer's department should get the 6%. I'm saying we should look at the administrative costs. And because right now, outside of the 3%, there are a lot of departments that are in fact doing this administration of OCTAX, but they're doing it on the county, if you will, on the, you know, for the taxpayers. Shouldn't those administrative costs truly be paid out of the OCTAX, the 10% that is allowed for that purpose? So the 3 to 6% is on the floor. I'm not saying it should all come to the treasurer's department. It can be allocated out, but again, I think there are a lot of people working on this right now that are, in fact, on county time and pay as opposed to OCTAX time and pay. Thoughts, questions?
Stroud?
Yes, thank you. Well, 3% of how many million? I've seen the number. I don't remember what it was, but I'm sure
230, approximately 230, and at 3%, 6% would be 460.
I'm sure that exceeds the cost of administering this. If we move it to 6%, there's 3% that's not going to occupancy tax kind of things that bring events and people to our area. It's going to administration and so forth, and I don't think the current administration of this OCTAX exceeds the 3% that we're currently giving. I would be opposed to increasing it just because it takes money away from other projects that it should go to.
Any other comments? Mr. Strainer? You're looking at me,
Well, I mean, I understand what Supervisor Straw was saying, but if you did increase it, would you take money away from the departments to balance their budget? Would you allocating more money to them? So when they would come in with their budget, be less that amount of money that you gave them through this, or just go into the abyss?
That's a good question.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yes, sir.
To modify this percentage, which is embodied in a local law, you have to go through that local law procedure, it has to be filed with the state. So it has to come before the board twice. And then there has to be a public hearing in between. I believe there's probably a number of modifications and changes that the treasurer's office may want to make and some other departments may want to make to the existing local law. So I would gently recommend kind of maybe a twofold approach. One fold would be to go through this local law from 2018 and update it for 2024. To do that in the next, and then the second part is to do that in the next 60 days so that it would potentially be in a position and shape to be, if the committee and the board decided, in place or prepared for the next budget cycle for 2025. So if there's an interest or a need really to increase a percentage, it might be easier to identify and to also include a procedure in there for accounting for how that works going forward. The state statutes on collecting occupancy tax are very clear, but they're also very open, and they do give the county some flexibility on the collection piece and the administration piece. The spending piece, where it's broad, but not as broad maybe as some people in the county would like. It does have to be related to tourism-related purposes. But on the collection and administration side, a lot of authority is given to the county to set their policies and procedures. So I guess my gentle suggestion is that over the next 60 days, a red line version of the local law be brought back to this committee, really to hone in and focus on focusing and making some changes that are needed to make it more effective in the collection and enforcement and administration side, which then will help, I think, clarify what percentage is in fact needed to cover resources at the county.
Rossi?
Yeah, I agree with Supervisor Stroud on this one. I'd be interested, do we get a percentage from other sources of revenue? For example, DMV, I don't know. Does DMV allow us to take a percentage of everything they bring in to administer that program?
It's an account.
Real tax services. Do we get a piece of that, or is that part of the tax?
Not that I know of.
So isn't this a service that the county, we decided years ago to have an tax system? And we decided to, whatever that cost us to administer it, and the percentage is allowed. I'd like to see if we bring in other revenue and then we take a cut of that. Because I can't support going to 6% and taking it away from municipalities and projects.
All right, well, the only thing I recollect from previous treasurer, he was talking about the tax is growing and there's so much more work now with the Airbnbs, short-term rentals, sorry. And he needed more help or pay his help more to keep it going. I mean, that's what I think he came about 4 or 5 months ago
Yeah.
into the meeting. Yes.
When he did that, though, we did not have Granicus. And now we have Granicus to do that. So my question would be, what happens when they collect this money? How do we know that it would be reducing the budget in the different departments that are working on OCTAC too? Like their budget should decrease in lieu of this extra money if they were to get it, right? And so how would that affect now? Because the budget's already in place. This probably wouldn't be able to take effect until 2025, right?
A lot of
Because it
good
would
points.
affect their budget.
but I
They'd
like-
be getting more revenue.
How about we go back to what the attorney said? We'll
Yeah,
look
I
at
like
this
that idea.
one from 2018, get the information from it.
Yeah.
Everybody will get a copy of it and we'll see what the difference is then and now.
And how it would be allocated, yeah.
And just one point of clarification, if I might, sorry, Deb, just to clarify for you.
Yeah.
So Granicus, Mike had Granicus, but again, they identify the short-term rentals. I am expanding the services of Granicus and I'm not overloading our team with work that a system can do for us. But that said, it doesn't necessarily take away, there is a tremendous amount of daily phone calls, emails. I'd rather focus my guys on the enforcement because that's not really been a focus in the past.
Mhm.
So I don't think Granicus is reducing the amount of work my team members actually do.
Okay.
on that, but,
Might be increasing it.
could be, again, especially, we had I did run some numbers. I mean, there's been literally a 75% increase, with the Airbnb work that he originally did way back when he subpoenaed. And then that also was partially the Granicus work. We're expecting a significant lift from the Granicus work again. So it's helpful. Granicus is helpful, but if they're likely to add to our workload more so than reduce. Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mhm.
Straight up.
Well, you're saying 3 to 6, you could do 4,
Yeah, well, let's get the information first.
that'd probably be more helpful.
I think we
I
had
agree
that.
with Deb,
I think
that was
that's
my
good.
question.
We did have it at
If
one
reduce
time.
Those people's budgets, that would be more beneficial than.
Chairman, I think we can come up with a creative solution that might address a lot of the concerns
Okay.
that I'm hearing from the committee.
All right, so we get a motion to table this for now?
We even make a motion to put it on the floor. I'll make a motion to put it on the floor.
All right, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
And I got a second.
Wasn't it a?
Ms. Runyon seconded.
What's the motion?
To table it.
Huh?
We're just gonna tape.
Okay, so we don't have,
All right.
we don't have to take action on it. All right, so we're not gonna take action on it. Right? All right.
I have one more resolution, to put forth for the floor here, if I may, 1, 2, on this end, 1, 2, 3, over here. So this is a resolution, we have a contract with Rove Marketing. They are a subscription-based analytical organization. We have purchased data from them. One that is most recently used, which is the Visa data that helped us to market our area within the summertime this year. So we're using data already to identify some marketing efforts. They have an additional piece of data that was not supposed to be ready until the end of the year. Which I would have brought into next year's contract. However, because we have an existing contract, I need to make an amendment to that existing contract, which is, Resolution 589 of 2023. This is an additional cost of $5,000. What this is going to do is provide us with visitor spending insights from an economic standpoint of prior years. It takes into consideration our Visa data, our air DNA, our hotel performances, also inflation, as well as what New York State puts out, which is their tourism economic study. And that usually comes out end of summer, beginning of fall. It's not always consistent, but it's something that is part of this. And what it will give us is an idea, and I did see a snapshot, and there are some ahas in there that I've already seen in the snapshot, without even getting into details, of focuses that I would like to push forward with from a marketing perspective, because I see things drop. One of that I've been working with on the outdoor study and recognizing the need for the tourism office, which we have already switched to do more marketing on outdoor recreation. That has dropped for us in prior years, and that was one of the learnings that I've gotten just from the quick snapshot of this that they allowed me to look at very quickly. So I would ask that the committee consider adding this as an additional subscription base to the existing contract already.
Chairman, if I may, before we go forward on it, sometimes my job requires me to be unpopular.
No.
That's surprising for an attorney.
Anyone else?
No, come on.
Going once?
Do a great job.
This wasn't on the agenda. It wasn't posted for the public to review before the meeting started, and I'm concerned. I'm not saying it would, but I'm concerned that it would violate open meeting law. Unless it's of an emergency nature, I would ask if there's a way to table it for the next meeting. I apologize for that, but I'm just concerned, given that it wasn't published or posted before the meeting started, it could create an issue going forward if we go into a contract with this group.
Okay.
because it wasn't.
All right, so we don't have to table it. We're just gonna bring it back next month. Is that,
Thank you.
everybody? Mr. Weil, I see you
Can we
waiting.
move to finance?
Huh?
That way you have.
No, you
the,
gotta, we gotta
ability
prove
to
it here
vote.
first.
So if the committee's in favor, move to finance.
No, it's gotta be approved here first.
It's okay. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
All right,
Thank you.
all right, moving on. We got all the
Okay.
approvals, disapprovals and all that, okay.
I'm gonna keep talking then. So, I don't normally do an overview of a tourism discussion because a lot of that is done, in tandem, but I do want to say, last couple of weeks, I've been out of the office attending various conferences, so two things. I want to kind of give you some insight on what that is, but also recognize the team that I have for keeping things going, and moving along. And so I want to give them the kudos for doing that and working remotely with me to get a resolution or an RFP reviewed. But to give you an overview, from April 7th to the 11th, I attended Simple View Summit. For those of you that may not know, Simple View is our new partner and our website provider. It launched at the beginning of April. I'm happy to say things are moving along very well. We are excited about what it looks like. We've been getting a lot of feedback. I asked if anybody has any feedback on it, good, bad, and indifferent, please share. We have the ability to update instantaneously. We also have the ability to add a lot of bells and whistles. So part of this conference allowed me to view other destinations and how they use the platform and how different ways that they expand and promote their destinations. I also got to speak with a lot of our team members at Simple View to get an idea of some recommendations that they see that we could tap into in future, as well as visit and sit with various vendors of different pieces that can be part of the site. One of that being maybe the exploration of a booking engine adding on to our existing website. There's not anything I'm doing today, tomorrow, the next day, but always looking to make it better and market us better within to our potentials and existing visitors. So that was the 7th through 11th. I then had a fun time being stranded in Charlotte for 2 days and then made it April 13th and 14th. We have partnered with Wine, Waters and Wonders of New York State. We are a sponsorship of that program. Wine, Waters and Wonders of New York State is an international brand that sells travel to the international markets. One of the bigger reasons we partnered with them was because they have a grant from federal government to go after the UK and Ireland market specifically, but then they also fund Europe, Germany, France and other countries. We had their agency rep in-house the 13th and 14th. We started him off with a meeting of him and I Saturday morning right at the airport so that we can come and drive through the county, really showing them the assets. We started in Glens Falls, Shirt Factory, toured a bunch of the hotels. He also educated some of the hotels on different things that they can do to be better prepared and position themselves to market in the international market, as well as went to various locations. We drove all the way out to, and he loves in Warrensburg, the little deli there behind the Citgo. That was like his favorite find. But that is the piece that makes us so unique. And so to hear him see those things, being one of the many uniquenesses, the international traveler likes to experience it from a local level. And so we even met the owners, who were very nice as well. And so it was interesting to hear from him because it helped me, but also it positioned Warren County very nicely for the international market. And he has already made connections to a lot of operators. I then didn't miss a beat and went to the New York State Tourism Conference. I actually did take the morning off of Monday, heading out to Niagara Falls. Gina got to join as well to this conference. This conference happens twice a year. This one was focused basically on what it does is it provides a lot of different opportunities to hear again what other destinations are doing. They have a session called one-on-one where we get to meet with various vendors from all different walks of life, whether it be from, jobs to, which Gina took that lead on that part, to other vendors of agency contacts. So I met with 8 different businesses just to see if there are opportunities for us to partner, whether or not there are other things that I should be doing from a marketing perspective. But I felt that I needed to share a lot of that because I know that a lot of people have been visiting my office, and I apologize that I was not there to help you, but hopes that my remote connection and emails and conversations helped you out. But wanted to share that with everybody because I know that I don't normally report a lot out. So I thought that I would share why I've been a little absent and then foggy on Monday morning. So if there aren't any questions. I'll turn it
Questions,
back to
Heather?
Chairman.
Anybody have any questions? All right. Lake George, CVB, you're up.
Hello, everyone. In your packets, you have our Q1 report. And for Supervisor Gerasi, I will distribute after a look back at the first quarter from a short-term rental and from a hotel occupancy standpoint, and look ahead. As Heather has bought the Rove data, we have also bought some additional Zartico data that we can now share. And through your leadership with regard to really looking at things, what we can share, what do we own, what, to be very legal and transparent with regard to that. She brought up a very good point about assets, and we noted some photos that people around the county were using illegally. And because of Heather, again, your leadership and really pinpointing that, we've helped others to stop doing that so that we're all doing things properly so that nobody gets sued over those kinds of little things that are not in contracts and that kind of thing. So thank you for that. Just a quick overview, an executive summary, our KPIs that we achieved, the highlights were leads, bookings, attendees, booked room nights, economic impact, website visits, social media followers, and wedding and meeting guide requests. We successfully completed in this first quarter a variety of welcome activities for all of the events that took place in the destination, attended industry events, and assisted in the hosting efforts of boys basketball, resulting in significant press coverage for that event. We booked meetings and conventions, sent out leads, hosted sporting events, and developed new itineraries for future travel, several of which are based on the interactions for the future interaction with our international markets. And more news to come on that after we attend IPW later in May. Heather and others with regard to Wine, Water, and Wonders, as well as New York State partnerships, but more news to come on that. We provided convention services, developed microsites, which those are really growing. You'll see in this first quarter, over 1,600 hits to those microsites. And those are sites that are on organizations that are coming here for their meetings that people are looking at before they get here. So it's that advanced excitement about coming for whatever the meeting is, whether it's Parks and Recs that were here just week and a half ago, hosted in Glens Falls, to boys basketball or other events that happened throughout the first quarter. And we also conducted site visits with lodging partners. We've been partnering with SAIL, the Southern Adirondack Independent Living, to really look at the accessibility of our hotels and attractions. A big piece of that came about with the Fort William Henry in advance of Moment Factory and Winter's Dream. And because of that and infrastructure changes that were made, everything from curb cuts for wheelchairs to doors, bathroom doors, and that sort of thing. So we've been marching, but we started with our larger hotels and going on to some of the smaller properties that see a lot of visitation, that we really needed to up our game in terms of not only promoting that accessibility, but really knowing that you can't just say you're ADA compliant. So that's been a huge learning curve for our partners throughout Warren County. We had a strong marketing presence with regard to website page views, e-blasts, and media exposure. We also have tracked all the advertising value and the potential reach. Overall, we had a really successful first quarter. And as you'll see with regard to, there's the KPI indicators, that's our cover page. And then when you scroll in, you can see that both visually compared to this year to date and our year-end target. Where are we? And then that's on page 3. And then you can see it too compared to the first quarter of last year. This first quarter, we also spent a lot of time on the follow-up. It really happens typically in the first quarter on the follow-up from the year prior, because went to several trade shows, as you saw from last year. That all happens in that late third to fourth quarter. So you begin that follow-up, and really, so that transforms into the 57 leads that were also sent out at this time frame. Moving along, this is also our quarter we just ended with regard to a lot of wedding promotion, because the big engagement season is from Thanksgiving through Valentine's Day. So Long Island wedding shows are a big deal. Long Island, New Jersey, that part of the state to come. We always look at a 3.5-hour radius of those who spend more money on wedding and events. So you'll see that in here. We distributed information on the Lake George area, 10 different wedding shows on that in the Long Island area. And we provide those contact leads to all of our partners, anybody in Warren County after the fact. We get those leads and distribute them. If anybody's interested in that, they're always attached to our partner news that comes out every month. The group tour market, that was a very successful, that's the American Bus Association, as we've continued to grow that outreach within the bus tour market. We included hosting events with our partners from around the state, as well as our local partners, Lake George Steamboat Company, Lake George Waterfront Cruises, the Queensbury Hotel, and the Fairfield Hotel were all there as our partners and attended all events. And then they also had their own individual appointments with potential attendee companies, group tour operators. We've talked a lot about basketball, and the one thing I will say with regard to that is we are working with Jeff Mead on what could go in replacement of that over the next 3 years. Are there other, not quite Puppy Bowl events, but things like that could not only utilize the arena, but also put feet on the street and heads in the beds, is what we've looked at. As you go on to sales activities, again, 27 meetings and event conventions were booked, 57 leads sent out, and then really actively sourcing, future business for the arena and for just our destination as a whole. It was announced that Quad Ball Festival will come here. Quad Ball is the new term for Quidditch. We hosted something at Jenkinsville Park in 2021, and we've been working on trying to bring that. That was our first test. Could we handle Quidditch? Any of you Harry Potter followers? It is the fastest growing sport on college campuses. It's a club sport, is Quidditch. It takes 5 balls, and if you don't know anything about it, you would go nuts. You'd get yeah. And they do have sticks and everything. They're running around with anyway, it is a sight to see if you want to see the videos that we took in 2021 at Jenkinsville Park. It was quite the interesting event, and we're looking at 20 teams for that event to come here. They're college teams from around the Northeast and beyond, and that would be in the fall of this year. Talked about the group tour market, and I just wanted to say again, under Heather's leadership with regard to the new website, which is beautiful. You could do a whole go down rabbit holes on each section that you go into, and the photography, the video galleries, they're just stunning. I mean, the visual beauty of the site. Congratulations to you all. So as we transition meetlakegeorge.com to mimic that for the meetings market, Heather was very helpful in showing us the back end of as they were creating that website, so that we could transition, so that there's seamlessness going from new websites easily and fast. So you'll see that, and to see some additional things with regard to the itineraries for the international market as we learn more about that. Again, you'll see our trade show attendance, two major shows. Again, I mentioned the Bus Association, but there was an event in New York City. It was called Meet New York. And so there was 200 plus New York City based event planners for a variety of types of events, not just meetings and conventions. So that was a real eye opener. This was very well attended. It had not been in the past. It was retooled and really well worth our time and effort. And you'll see that in our not only in our outreach, but you also see the numbers as you see that trade show activity. I mentioned those microsites. It was over 1,300 hits, which is pretty interesting in that first quarter to see that as people get excited about their events, either in the first quarter or the future events that were already, the microsites are already produced for. I mentioned sale. advocacy summit to, some things that are hopefully on your radar as elected officials and those involved in our hospitality and tourism industry. So we've got coming up, right now, April 30th, we have a Serve Safe training class for managers. So any of our food operators were offered an opportunity to take this class for free. It would cost them roughly between $300 and $500 to do it on their own. And we have that in our community budget. We have 28 local providers from their kitchens, their staff coming to take that class on the 30th. It'll be at the Queensbury Hotel. On May 2nd, there's a legislative reception at the Fort William Henry. That's in conjunction with New York State Hospitality and Tourism Association, Heather's department. We're all working on that, but there's been some issues that didn't get through in the governor's budget and others that did. That it's another way for us to know that, and we'll send out more information in advance of that because the budget was just released over the weekend of how it directly impacts us. And then lastly, on May 8th, starting at 3:30, this is at SUNY Adirondack. We have WMHT is coming here for a listening tour for public media and how the public media interacts with our community, and vice versa. Then we've got the Partnership for Community Belonging. So WMHT starts at 3:30, and then the partnership starts at 5. So those are two back-to-back in the same location. And roughly, again, it's another piece of being involved in our community, but also community development and extending our reach in many ways, and our welcoming, quite honestly. You'll see, there's a variety of marketing, but the biggest thing was our goal has been with the website is to convert those. So to get people to fill out a lead information form. So we had 36 lead forms submitted in that first quarter, which is again, because the website of Meet Lake George is really targeted to meeting and event planners. It's not Visit Lake George. Visit Lake George is the leisure traveler, plan your trip here. This is to plan your meeting and event here. So the focus is very targeted with regard to that. And then a big deal was both our social media, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, was to grow that following, but to get them to convert on the website, to fill out a lead form or to bring their meetings and conventions here. And then the last 6 pages of the report will show you the list of who the bookings are, each of the aspects of that, the dates, the number of attendees, the number of booked room nights, where they're staying, the events serviced, who are those events that were serviced, the leads that went out, and there's 57 of those, the lost business, who did we lose business to, and what were those room nights and the economic impact. And then the pending leads, what's still out there that we're converting to book, and then the trade show activity. So all of those numbers are enumerated on the back pages of this report. And lastly, what I am able, this is new data that we're not only able to learn from, we can also share. And we will start doing lunch and learns with people can access this data so they can market themselves even better. This first report that I'm sending out, this is this past first quarter, to look at it so you can see from the standpoint of where we were this past first quarter. What was our occupancy? What was our, both for short-term rental and hotels? And then this next piece is where are we going? What's already booked in the market so far for the next 3 months? So this is for April 1st through, I think I did through July 31st so far. So you can see and how we compare to last year. So this is that second round. And I definitely want to make sure treasurer has that, because you're always looking at.
Just to clarify, this is not just a river. This is
No. This is everything in the market. So this is from, so the new data, just as Heather talked about being able to buy the Visa data, this is where somebody has, this past quarter, they were already spent their money, their mobile data, where they were, and we can do deeper dives and see how people moved around once they were here. That's the look back. The look ahead is what has already been booked. The only information we do not have, and we can't get it anywhere, not even from campground owners of New York State, is the camping information. No real good camping data.
And if you
Um,
can add to this, the methodology. which
Oh,
is missing.
so this, that's from Zartico. So, so the data that's purchased there is, Smith Travel Research.
If they
It's,
can add this to this, that, to identify the methodology of what they use to come up with these numbers,
okay.
that would be beneficial.
Okay, I'll ask them to do that, in all of our reporting. And so that is, credit card data and mobile data and, Smith Travel Research and, short-term rental data. So you've got two pieces, a look back at this first quarter and then a look ahead for now, yes.
Can't get any data from like Reserve America, which is the camping, that's, I mean, where you, if you're gonna camp in the Adirondacks, that was where I would go and they have nothing for you.
Not for sharing that we know of yet. So, one of our largest parks here are Lake George RV Park and Lake George Escape. And we try to work through them. We try to work through Campground Owners of New York State, who is a great partner across the state. Even the state campgrounds, trying to get real data from, we have a few here, we have 3 in the destination. Again, we don't have that data. But if you have magic bullet, we would love it.
Well, Reserve America tends to be just, it does do some private, but it's mostly state. So like if you wanted to, like any of the popular ones, you literally have to put it on your calendar.
Right.
Like if you want to go to
late January.
Golden Beach
Right.
on Racket, you almost have to do it a year in advance. And so but you can go on and reserve, but they have them.
So we have 3 state campgrounds, Battlefield Park and
Mhm.
Hearthstone and up in Rogers, up in Bolton. But there's, we have a lot of other campsites. We have close to 5,000 throughout all of Warren County. So, that brings in a lot of visitors. One campsite might have 5 to 8, 9 people, at one site. And, there's been a lot of, money's investment into our campgrounds to make them more accessible and friendly and useful.
On that
Anyway.
note, do you have the mobile? The mobile?
That's mobile data is part of that. Mobile data. Yeah, yeah. Not in here yet. The mobile comes from the movement in here. I'm sorry, any questions? I was trying to go as fast as I could based on the length of the meeting.
Anybody have any questions for Gina? Thank you, Gina. The last one I have on here, how about Amy Collins from
I'll be
Glens
very
Falls?
quick. I
Anything
don't
to
have all
say?
this data. I need some data.
Hi, everyone. Amy Collins, Director of Tourism, Business Development, and Interim Recreation Director. So we did have the New York State Rec and Park Society, April 13th, 14th, 15th. Gina, I just wanted to commend Heather and Gina as partners for me. They bring me along and help widen my networking base. So thank you. We did attend a few hockey games. We've had 14 sellouts at the arena, which is marvelous. And the OCTAX, your tourism, you guys have created a lot of this and helped us be where we are today. We had Earth Day and we had a great cleanup. I wanted to note, we had a 6-year-old from Warrensburg working at Eastfield this weekend. So I didn't get her name, but we're really a regional, even with our cleanup days. But I also wanted to let you know that Wing Fest is Saturday. So please come and try some wings. You've supported it with OCTEX money, so thank you. We also, the influencer too that Heather brought down was quite interesting, from California. So I always learn a lot from hanging out with you ladies. So thank you. I'm going to go to MGM as well with Heather in Springfield. And let's see what else
For
can I do.
consumer show.
For a consumer show, yeah. So, yeah, well, we want to go kind of privately too. But one of the things that I was really excited about having the hotel taken over, I only have to, I worry about all hotels, but particularly this weekend, they took over the Queensbury Hotel and also rented 60 rooms in the Fairfield. So it was a home run for Sunday, Monday. Looking for offsites, I really wanted to make their visit regional. So I wanted them to go to the top of Prospect Mountain. I wanted them to go to Adirondack Extreme. I wanted to go out into the county and find things to do. Unfortunately, April's a tough month. We couldn't even get up to the fort because they were having, a benefit there for, beans and bands, I think. So, you know, that 365 days a year, really important because, you know, we want to encourage that, and all working together. So thank you. My report is short, but thank you, Chairman, and, you know, happy spring. Sun's shining.
Any questions for Amy? All right, referrals? Heather? Any referrals?
Yeah, no referral.
No referrals. Okay, privilege to the floor. Anybody has any comments, something to say? Looking around, nothing. Okay, a motion to adjourn. Mr. Bean, Rossi, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.